was wondering if you wanted a top up on your tea, but it seems maybe perhaps a bit too early for it, as you have not finished your other one. But not to fret. I will finish mine in probably no time. You see, look, the pot is already beginning to melt in my tea. Oh, and I've forgotten to put my gloves on. My apologies. 1 second. I find it difficult to make tea without my gloves on. Oh, rather, I find it difficult to make tea with my gloves on because they're so slippery. I feel like I'm going to drop the teapot to make a fool of myself to everyone, but maybe I need not worry about it so much. After all, I could just call somebody else to make it, but I generally enjoy the act of making tea. Find it quite soothing, don't you? Yes, well, I don't know, I suppose I could go either way. Let's put this there. Much better, much better, much better. So, now that we have that sorted, we have got important matters to talk about. Very important matters, might I say. This is delicious. And the reason that I've made this style of tea today instead of English tea is because I've heard that you have your eyes set on Lord Samadani. Yes. Of course, he's very eligible. Yes. He's a lord after all, a man with a title. Well, I know they do say these days, at least Violet's children do say, that love is perhaps more important than title, but I think that at the very least a happy medium between the two is necessary. Do you not agree? Well, as I've said, he is a man with a title, and he has come to join us in London for the season. He is looking for a bride. Yes. And I understand that the two of you have made your acquaintance at Lady Dunbar's most recent ball. Is that correct? Am I correct in my assumption? Yes, okay. And he seemed to take a liking to you, is that true? Good. Well, I'm excited for you. Did the two of you by any chance share a dance? Oh, that's lovely. Well, if you are to woo him, we have a work cut out for us, because it is my understanding that this is your first season, and although some may say maybe the first season brings about with it luck, I also think that many come into their first season with such a degree of inexperience that it can cause them to, how to say, botch the whole experience for themselves and others if they are not careful. I've seen many a debutante get ruined upon her first season, and I suppose, I don't know if it's better to be ruined in your first season or be ruined in your later seasons, because I suppose you should know better in your later seasons, but maybe it could be argued that people ruining themselves in their first season is due to their inexperience with the matter, but I do not think this is a fair assessment. I think that if someone has been given the proper education, they should be able to successfully navigate their first season with grace and the utmost elegance. And this is what you have shown so far this season, my dear, so I am delighted to be able to assist you in securing your match. This is delicious, I just cannot stop drinking it. Is yours hot enough? I can call to make another pot. Yes. Okay, do you see that? You see how the crystals melting in the bottom of the teacup. Yes, delicious, I know. I might just have to pour myself another pot, but enough of that. Now tell me, what did you and the Lord discuss upon your first meeting? Yes, besides all of the regular acquaintance stuff, like, you know, how long have you been in the season, you know, stuff like that. I'm not very much interested in hearing that. Okay. You talked about... Oh, yes, of course. Yes, I was actually going to mention this to you today. So, as you know, I've prepared, instead of English tea, I prepared Persian style chai today. So, yes, you have to avoid saying chai tea, because then it is to my understanding that then you are just saying tea, which you don't say tea. It's like saying tea twice, you know. Doesn't make any sense. So, yes, I prepared Persian chai today. It is saffron chai. This is what I showed you earlier, but basically this is some saffron here, and I don't know if you are familiar with it, but I did some reading into it since we are trying to woo Lord Samadani, so it is of the utmost importance that we know everything there is to know about him, you know, including where he comes from, where he hails from, and, you know, what his interests are. And I felt that it would be pertinent for me to kind of demonstrate what Persian tea is like, and it is very delicious, I must say. I wish to incorporate this into my tea service every afternoon from this point onward, because you get to have a whole stick of sugar. See, look at that. I do not know why we English did not invent this, but I mean, I suppose the English do always steal everything. We did steal tea in the first place, but regardless, the Persian tea saffron chai that I have here is made with black tea and saffron. And saffron, basically here, it is harvested from the stamens of a specific saffron flower, which is purple, but the stamens are this lovely reddish orange fiery colour, and that's what gives the tea the colour that I showed you earlier, the very beautiful red colour. But yes, so you have the saffron and then you have the tea itself, and it gives this lovely delicious sweet taste, but it is very delicious and warm. It gives you a warm feeling, you know. Yes, so, and normally I'm told it is prepared with what is called a samovar, where basically it is a teapot that it's a sort of teapot where you put on the top. So if I was to elevate my teapot here, and then you have this antechamber below it, which you put a flame below, and then it keeps the tea heated at the top, so then you never have cold tea, which is especially good for this style of tea here, because it is best enjoyed at a very hot temperature. So with the samovar you can ensure that it is always served at the proper temperature. I thought that it was quite a brilliant way of serving tea, but yes. So I actually think I might top up my glass here. Please do not mind my creed when it comes to tea, but it is just too delicious. Yes. Okay, as I was saying, Lord Samadani, I'm told, is from the land of Persia, so I thought it was pertinent that you learn something about it so you can be informed, you know. And I know that you do not. How many languages do you speak? What languages are you educated in? French, Latin, the usual, okay. You know Greek as well? Wow, that is quite impressive. I did not know Greek by your age, but that is very impressive. Your education has evolved these days. Anyways, the language from Persia is, well, in English we call Persian, but I'm told that sometimes people refer to it as Farsi, even though that doesn't really make sense, because if you're an English speaker you don't call French Francais, but is pertinent that you know of this because I am told that you spoke with Lord Samadani about poetry upon your first meeting and that he even recited a poem to you. Yes, that is very beautiful. Are you aware what poem it was? Did he tell you? Yes, of course, Rumi and Hafiz. Yes, these are some of the greatest poets, I'm told, and their writing, I've only, of course, read it translated because, unfortunately, I cannot read or speak Farsi, although I would love to learn it. It's such a beautiful script. But yes, Rumi and Hafiz are some of the most famous poets of Persia, and their writings are just beautiful. They truly write. They capture the feeling of love, I think, very intimately and very beautifully. There's nothing like it that I have read. It is delicious, truly. But anyways, I think that today maybe you should read some poems or write them down, or I don't know. I'm sure that we have something in the library that you can refer to. Admittedly, I am not such an encyclopedia of poetry that I profess, but I do know a few. But anyways, I'm so sorry, I'm getting so excited. I'm so happy it is your season now. I've been waiting so long for this, truly. But here I am nervously drinking tea while I quack away. My mother would be embarrassed. Regardless, I think that it is perhaps important that maybe we examine some of the stories that may have been familiar to Lord Samadani as a child, or perhaps he still reads them. I'm sure he still does. They're great stories, but I've brought a book today for us to read from. It's a translation, of course, unfortunately, but I'm sure it would be quite a lot more powerful if it was to be read in its original script, but as I cannot read this, a translation will have to be the best that I can offer you, unfortunately, but it gives you some context. So, this is, as I'm told, the most important book to the history of Persia, and it is a very important cultural element of the Persia. So I think that you will be very interested to see the stories that are in it. But if I can just read you maybe a couple pages, or maybe I can read you a chapter of it. But this is the surname, and the surname is a book about the kings of ancient Persia. So that surname translates to the Persian Book of Kings, and it is by the poet Ferdowsi, Abul Qasim Ferdowsi, who is like, he was called a poet. He's one of the national poets of Iran, Persia. But let's see if I can find you what. I need to find a good story here. I need to find you a relevant story. Where's table of and it's got these lovely art in it as well. Very lovely. Just going to now, as this is just a translation, it doesn't have as much illustration as it normally should. The actual books of these, they have these brilliant and some of the most beautiful artwork that I have ever seen, truly. But they have these brilliant illuminated manuscripts that has this beautiful, colourful and detailed art on it. And then the poetry, this is originally poetry of course, is written at the tops and bottoms of each spread, each painting. The attention to detail on these paintings is truly immaculate, and it really lets you connect with the characters of the story. I cannot find the one I'm looking for. Here it is. Oh, okay. I have to turn to the 152nd page. Okay. So, I am reading ahead from the beginning of this book, but this is one of the most important stories, I believe, and it is one of my personal favourites. So I think you will find that it is very enjoyable to hear. But to give a little context, this is a story about the national hero of Persia. His name is Rostam, and it is a sort of heroic story. Maybe in England it would be equivalent or similar in genre to the story about the trials of Hercules. You are familiar, of course? Yes, you speak Greek. I know. You don't need to remind me that how lacking my Greek skills are. Anyways, it is sort of similar in nature to that, but in my opinion, it's far superior. But let me read. Actually, let me take another 17. Truly delicious. Okay, so this is the 7 trials of Rostam. The first trial, Raksh, combat with a lion. I forgot to mention Raksh is, and forgive me for my pronunciations, I'm sorry. I am trying my best, but I am very sincerely sorry if I botch it. But Raksh is the name of Rostam's horse, and he has magical characteristics. He is able to speak and communicate with Rostam, and he is very loyal. He is like a companion. I always say I'm not sure why people use the phrase man's best friend is the dog, because truly, if you consider the service of horses to humans, horses are far superior to dogs. I mean, really, horses go to war for humans, and then the thanks that they get is being told that dogs are man's best friend. I will not stand for it. Anyways. The first trial, Raksh combat. So I need to clear my throat. Rostam rode out from Sistan in high spirits, his face flushed with joy. By riding Raksh through the dark night as well as the bright day, he covered 2 days' journey in one. He became tired and hungry, and he saw a plain ahead of him filled with wild asses. He urged Raksh forward with his thighs, and the ass he fixed on was unable to outrun him. No animal could escape Raksh's speed and Rostam's lariat together. The lion Rostam threw his lariat, and its noose dropped over the brave ass's head. Then he lit a fire with the point of an arrow and piled thorns and scrub into the blaze, and after he had killed and skinned the beast, he cooked it in the flames. He needed neither a table nor cooking pot, but simply ate the flesh and threw away the bones. He removed Raksh's reins and let him wander in the meadow there. Then he made himself a bed of reeds and trusted in the safety of a place where he should have been afraid. The reed bed hid a lion's lair, and no elephant dared disturb the reeds nearby. When one watch of the night had gone by, this ravening lion returned to its lair. He saw a mammoth warrior sleeping among the reeds, and a horse awake and standing in front of him. He said to himself, "First I must bring down the horse, if I'm to get my claws on its rider." He charged towards Raksh, whose spirit flared up like fire. Raksh brought his front hoofs down on the lion's head and sank his sharp teeth into his back. He threw it down on the ground, tore it to pieces, and rendered this savage animal harmless. When Rostam woke, he saw that this lion's world had indeed become dark and comfortless, and he said to Raksh, "You are an intelligent animal. Who told you to fight with lions? If you had been killed, how could I have ridden to Mazandaran with this heavy mace and helmet and this bow and lariat of mine?" If you had woken me, I would have made short work of your combat with this lion. Okay, so that's the first trial. Second trial. Rustam's second trial. Rustam finds a spring of water. When the sun rose above the mountain summit, Rustam woke uneasily from a sweet sleep. He rubbed Rush down, put his saddle on him, and prayed to God. A hard road lay ahead of him, and he had to go forward, unsure of what he might encounter. Rush's legs became weary, and his rider's tongue was afflicted by the heat and the thirst. Rustam dismounted, and with his lance in his hand staggered forward like a drunken man. He looked for some way to save himself, and raised his face to the heavens, saying, Just Lord, you bring all pains and difficulties to an end, and if my pains are pleasing to you, my treasure is amassed in another world. I travel in the hopes that God will have mercy on King Kavuz, and that I will be able to free the Persians from the clutches of demons according to God's commands. They are sinners and abandoned by you, but they worship you and are your slaves. Many of their mammoth bodies have been bruised and broken. They are weakened and maddened by the thirst. Then Rustam fell on the hot earth, and the flesh of his tongue was split open from thirst. At that moment he saw a ram with fat haunches running in front of him, and he thought, Where does this ram find water for itself? Surely this is God's mercy, to show this animal to me at such a moment. He gripped his sword in his right hand, and, invoking God's name, rose to his feet. Holding his sword, he followed the ram, leaning Rush by the reins with his other hand. The ram led him to a stream, and Rustam turned his face to the skies and said, Whoever turns away from one God has no wisdom in him. When difficulties hem us in, he is our only source of help. Then he called down blessings on the ram and said, May your pastures always be green, and cheetahs never consider you as prey. May the bow of any man who shoots an arrow at you be broken and his arrows lost, because Rustam has survived through you, and if it were not for you, he would now be thinking of his shroud, and preparing to be the prey of dragons or wolves. Then he lifted off Rush's saddle and washed all his body in the clear water, so that he glittered like the sun. When he had drunk his fill, he turned his mind to hunting. His quiver was full of arrows, and with his bow he brought down a wild ass with a body as massive as an elephant's. He stripped it of its hide, and when he had lit a fire, he dragged it from the stream and cooked it in the flames. He fell to his meal, tearing out the bones with his hands, and then went back to the stream and drank copiously again. He was now ready to sleep, and said to Rosh, No fighting with anyone tonight. If an enemy appears, wake me up. Don't look for a confrontation with any demons or lions. Then he lay down and slept with his lips sealed, and Rosh wandered here and there, cropping the grass till midnight. Rustam's third trial, combat with a dragon. This is one of the most famous stories, and it is one of my favourites. A dragon, from which no elephant had ever escaped, appeared on the plain. Its lair was nearby, and even demons were afraid to cross its path. As it approached, it saw Rustam asleep and Rash standing awake, alert as a lion. He wondered what had lain down here in his sleeping place, because nothing ever came this way, neither demons nor elephants nor lions, and if anything did come, it didn't escape this dragon's teeth and claws. It turned toward Rosh, who trotted over to Rustam and woke him. Rustam was immediately alert, ready to fight, but he gazed about him in the darkness, and the fearsome dragon disappeared. In his annoyance, Rustam chided Rosh for waking him. He slept again, and again the dragon emerged from the darkness. Rosh stamped on Rustam's pillow and pawed at the ground, and once more Rustam woke. He sprang up, his face sallow with apprehension, and gazed about him, and he saw nothing except the darkness. He said to his kind, wise horse, You should sleep in the night's darkness, but you keep waking me up. Why are you in such a hurry for me to be awake? If you disturb me again like this, I'll cut your feet off with my sword. I'll go on foot, dragging my lance and heavy mace to Mazandaran. For a third time he lay his head down to sleep, using Raksh's barding as his mattress and bed covers. The fearsome dragon roared, his breath seeming to flicker with flames, and Raksh galloped away, afraid to approach Rustam. His heart was split in two, fearing Rustam and the dragon. But his agitation for Rustam urged him back to the hero's side. He neighed and reared up, and his hoofs pawed violently at the ground. Rustam woke from a sweet sleep, furious with his horse, but this time God produced a light so that the dragon could not hide, and Rustam made him out in the darkness. He quickly drew his sword, and the ground flashed with the fire of combat. He called out to the dragon, "Tell me your name, because from now on you will not see the world to be as you wish. It's not right for me to kill you without my learning your name." The fearsome dragon said, "No one ever escapes from my claws. All of this plain is mine, like the sky and air above it. Eagles don't dare fly over this land, and even the stars don't look down on it." It paused and then said, "What is your name? Because your mother must weep for you." The hero replied, "I am Rostam, the son of Saul, who was the son of Som, of the family of Nariman." Then the dragon leapt to him, but in the end he could not escape from Rostam, because when Rosh saw the strength of its massive body bearing down on Rostam, he laid back his ears and sank his teeth into the dragon's shoulders. He tore at the dragon's flesh, and the lion-like Rostam was astonished at his ferocity. Rostam smote with his sword and lopped the dragon's head off, and poison flowed like a river from its trunk. The ground beneath its body disappeared beneath a stream of blood, and Rustam gave a great sigh when he looked at the dragon and saw that all the dark desert flowed with the blood and poison. He was afraid and stared in horror, murmuring the name of God over and over again. He went into the stream and washed his body and head, acknowledging God's authority over the world. He said, "Great God, you have given me strength and intelligence and skill, so that before me demons, lions, and elephants, waterless deserts, and great rivers like the Nile are as nothing in my eyes. But enemies are many, and the years are few." When he had finished his prayer, he saddled Raksh, mounted, and went on his way through a land of sorcerers. Do you want to hear another one, or shall I conclude there? Actually, I think I will read you one more. The next one is quite poetic, actually. It's quite sad, but no worries. Okay. Rostam's fourth trial. He kills a witch. He rode for a long time, and when the sun went down in the sky, he saw a landscape of plants and trees and running streams, as if it were a garden belonging to a young man. He saw a stream that glittered like a pheasant's eye, and next to it a golden goblet filled with wine. There was also a roasted chicken and bread with a salt cellar and candied fruits nearby. It was a feast for sorcerers, who had quickly disappeared when they heard him approaching. Rostam dismounted and lifted the saddle from Raksh's back. He was astonished to see the chicken and bread, and sat down beside the stream. He lifted the golden goblet filled with wine, and next to it was a lute, as if the desert were a hall that had been made ready for a feast. Rostam picked up the lute and began to play it, composing a song about himself as he did so. This is the song of Rostam, who's been given a few days of happiness by fate or heaven. He fights in every war, in every land. He spreads a hillside or the desert's hand. Demons and dragons are his daily prey. Devils and deserts block his weary way. Fate sees to it that perfect flowers and wine and pleasant vistas are but rarely mine. I'm always grappling with an enemy. Some ghoul or leopard's always fighting me. It's quite sad. You feel for him there. His song reached the ears of one of the sorcerers, a witch who disguised herself as a young girl, as beautiful as the spring and lovelier than any painting, like yourself. She came to Rostam, full of tints and scents, and sat down next to him and questioned him. Rostam silently gave thanks to God that on the plains of Mazandaran he had found this feast and wine, and now he had found a beautiful young wine stewardess too. He didn't know that she was a villainous sorcerer, an Aryaman disguised in spring's colours. He placed a bowl of wine in her hand and praised God, who is the author of all good things. But as soon as he mentioned God's kindness, the witch's face changed. The soul had no comprehension of such things, and her tongue could not utter such praise. She turned black at the sound of God's name, and when Rostam saw this as quick as the wind, he looped his lariat about her, and before she was aware, he trapped her head in its coils. He said to her, "What are you? Tell me. Show yourself as you are." Suddenly there was a withered old woman in his lariat's coils, ugly, deceitful, and vicious. Rostam slashed her in two with his dagger, and the other sorcerers' hearts were terrified when they saw this. But yes, this story, as you can see, is very lengthy, and I think you can only understand it with the art that is meant to be displayed alongside. And as you can tell, although I have only learned this information to relay it to you so that you might make a better connection to Lord Samadani, I have become quite interested in it myself. So I actually have something to show you here. This is something that I've been working on. I've been trying to improve my painting skills, but this is a painting of Raj and Rostam and the dragon that they slay in the manuscript, and this is supposed to be similar to an already existing manuscript. I did not invent this at all. It is all credits due to the original scribes and masters that did the original art. But as you can see, like I was saying, the poetry usually goes in these boxes there, so that would be filled with script, and then at the bottom as well. And then in the tradition of surname, there was also artists that were designated to illuminate the pages, and they would work with, like, have you ever seen it, like gold leaf? They would work with gold leaf, and it would be placed alongside the edges of the artwork as a sort of frame and around the places where the text was meant to go. And the gold was supposed to sort of give it a like spiritual element or religious element, although most of the stories of the surname were established before before Islam came to Persia. So we don't really know in the original books, the surname, which gods that Rostam would have been worshipping. We only know the approximate time period of these books, which was about in the year 1010, so a very long time ago. But there's been numerous renditions of it by artists and numerous manuscripts commissioned by various kings. So yes, I've been working on this, and when it is finished, I thought that perhaps if all goes according to plan with Lord Samadani, that maybe you could gift it to him. I do not profess by any means to be as good an artist as the original scribes, of course. My skill pales in comparison to them, but I thought perhaps it could be a nice gesture to just show that our family wants to extend some kindness to his, and that we are interested in where he came from and his culture. But aside from him coming from abroad, being a prince well, he's not a prince, but a lord, close enough. Aside from him being a lord from abroad, what else has he discussed with you? What are his interests? I'm sure he has many. He is such a learned man. Oh, lovely, of course. Horse racing, does he race himself as a jockey? Wow, that's quite daring, brave, but also dangerous. Yes, if you get married, if you have kids, you have to stop him from doing that. What, you don't think so? It's far too dangerous to be doing if you have young ones running around the house. Yes, of course. I don't know. Well, actually, now that you mention that, like, in back to this book, I know I've mentioned it many times, but it is quite relevant. But in the book, did you know that backgammon and polo were both invented by Persia, and polo was the sport that was played by kings for their leisure. So if he's, of course, a brilliant horseman, brilliant horse rider, it makes sense that he would play polo and ride horses. Yes, I'm sure that our brother's skills on the horse pale in comparison to him. But also that is not saying much, because I fear they are terrible on the horse. I am even better. Yes, and I'm a woman. Anyways. Well, yes, of course, only if I was allowed to ride astride. I am not, though. Only have to ride side saddle, which is ludicrous, really. Anyways, besides that, tell me more. And where was he educated? I'm assuming Oxford, am I correct? Of course. Oxford for what? What did he study? Okay, so he knows he can deal with the family accounts and... Oh, he studied the law as well. Wow. So of course he is a learned man. That's exactly as I suspected. Yes. So yes, have I ever told you about the art of the swoon? The swoon. Yes, so do you remember, were you there at the time? I don't even remember if you were out yet, but it is an infamous moment in society, for it was when Daphne Bridgerton, she had, you basically, I don't even have a fan to demonstrate this with, I don't think. I don't even think I can. And you're holding it. She was like fanning like this, and then you just pat your eyelashes, and you can kind of hide the lower half of it. Of course, yes, the effect would be much heightened if I used an actual fan, but what she did is go like this, pat your eyelashes, and you cover the lower half of your face. It is, to add an air of mystery to the whole action, but you do that, and then she dropped her fan at the feet of the prince, and just dropped her on the ground, and then she acted like, of course she's not going to bend down and pick it up, and there was a prince right in front of her, so he picked it up and gave it back to her. Thank you, that's what she did. But there's many ways to accomplish the same effect, you just need to be smart about it. Yes. What's happening here? I'm going to have these redone by the evening when it's time to go down for supper. I don't know what's going on here, they're all over. Yes, usually I tie the bows tighter, but I don't know what's happening. Anyways, it doesn't matter. There's many ways to accomplish the same effect, you just have to act. Not like this, that makes it look like you have smelled something dissatisfactory, but you act very shy, you act very feminine and graceful, and you act somewhat naive and somewhat unassuming, Men really need to feel like they know more than us women, you know what I'm saying? Yes, they need to feel like everything has been their idea and not yours, but in truth we are the marionettes behind the proverbial puppet show, if you will. Anyways, they need to feel like they are the marionettes. No, sorry, they need need to feel like, yes, that's what I meant to say. They need to feel like they are the ones that have thought of everything and everything is their idea. Because then they feel the male ego is quite fragile. And I've even read this in books written by men. Have you ever had the opportunity to read about Plato's Republic? Well, yes, I know you studied Greek, you needn't say it again. Plato's Republic, well, anyways, in Plato's Republic, he even says that, most men are not suited to rule. Most men will be part of, there's 3 classes. What is it? Most men will be part of the artisanal class, and then there's the merchants, and then something about philosopher kings, I don't know. I truly couldn't almost stomach the book. It was quite boring. But regardless, the main gist of it is that men need to feel like they are the center of the universe. So you need to make them feel. Also, I will preface this by saying I do not know Lord Samadani's temperament all too well. I am just going off of what you have relayed to me in part. But this is unfortunately true for all men, even the ones that seem well-mannered, shall I say. But basically, so you can partake in the art of the spoon, or you can do it another way. But the reason I suggest that you study part of the surname and other things is that I think it is important as well to make an intellectual companion of your suitors. So it is nice to have something to discuss besides like the weather or the lemonade at a ball. These are good conversation openers, but they are not conversation keepers. You need to do something, you need to give something more. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? Yes. So you need to, after, you present the initial, how shall I say this, outwardly mentally dull appearance. You don't want to look dull, of course, but you firstly appear mentally dull, and then you reel them in, and then you can let on that there's more to you than meets the eye, and hopefully he will reciprocate, and you will have a great conversation and be on your way. And I know that you said that. So what is it? You will see him at the next ball, or is it a soiree that you've been invited? Is there a soiree that you've been invited to? Oh, you want to host him here? Well, that is quite ambitious, I might say. You'll have to get my mom involved. Me? No, I can't chaperone you. I'm far too young for that. I'm still eligible myself. Well, okay, I can chaperone you alongside Mama, but I cannot do it by myself. That would be far too inappropriate. But no, she's not going to interrupt in the conversation. She sits aside and, well, yes, I admit she does listen. When I was courting my beloved, she could recite all of our conversations back to me word for word. But it is just part and parcel of London society. It's just something that every debutante must endure. Yes, well, yes, if you extend the invitation, would you prefer he called on you? Because I can arrange that. Well, of course I can arrange it. Didn't I just tell you that the women are like the marionettes in society and the men are like the puppets? It works outside of a ball. Yes, I can do it. But if you would prefer me not to interfere, and that's fine, I can let him do it of his own accord, and then, or think he's done it of his own accord, but then he really didn't. Anyways, or I cannot interfere at all. You can tell me if I'm pushing too much. But, anyways, he can call upon you and come here, or we could call upon him at his estate, which I would really be interested to see. It looks so lovely from the outside, but I would like to catch a glimpse of the inside. I'm sure his drawing rooms are lovely. Bedroom? Don't say that! Oh my god, my word. Not yet, after the wedding. Yes, I'm confident that you can secure a match with him. He seems like a very nice man. Yes, of course, I've checked around. I have not heard stories of him being a rake or anything of the sort, but, you know, I like to say, I guess, innocent until proven otherwise, so we shall give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, do you know if the Queen approves of the match? That's actually worked out quite nicely then. So you say that since matching him with Francesca Bridgerton did not work, that he's still looking for somebody. I see. Well, that leaves you the perfect opportunity to swoop in and sweep him off his feet. Yes, I know we usually say the other way around, but it is quite funny to subvert tropes, do you not think? I think I need more tea. That's the last of it. Do you want me to ring for more, or this is fine? Okay. Well, other than that, do you have any more questions for me? My knowledge is somewhat limited after a while, but I think I have the basics of courtship down. I've put so many other young women through it, I feel like. Well, yes, if you have a competition, it is difficult but not impossible to eradicate them from the equation. What I would suggest, it is also important that you keep your head on your shoulders, because you don't want to turn out like somebody like Cresta Cowper. Yes, because if you eliminate your competition by being outright disagreeable to them or giving them the cold shoulder, it is to compromise your position in society greatly, because the last thing that a prospective husband wants is to see that you are mean. We do not like that. We do not want to see that. So do not let it happen. Do not let that happen at all. No. So if you want to eliminate the competition, I don't know, I suggest maybe that you could dump the wax of a candle into a drink. No, I'm kidding. I don't know, you really just have to be the better woman. You have to win his affections, and you have to be the one that's preferable. That's truly the only way to secure it. But I mean, I tried to leave dirty tactics behind me, but there are some things which have proven to be very effective, I might say. You can, one time I actually replaced this girl's dance card with one that I took an extra one from the one that I was assigned,